Good morning and welcome to our June meeting of the Education Committee of the Kansas State Board of Nursing. We will call to order. We do have a quorum. We have 4 board members present, so we do have a quorum. Let's start with review of our on-site packet, and there is some on-site packet. There's the Bethel program site visit, and then the report from the LMHT subcommittee. So we will add both of those things to our agenda. Right, under 8C for the for Bethel, right there.
And then the LMHT, we already have on
The
the
very
agenda and under unfinished.
Yep. So we'll need a motion to make that adjustment.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Michelle?
Second.
Amy, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries. I don't believe, is there any announcements from any of our board members? All right, no announcements. Let's go on to approval of our minutes. So thank you to staff for printing this off for me. It is quite lengthy. So on page 4, you will find the minutes from our March meeting.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the March 26, 2024 Education Committee minutes as written.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries. Okay, Janelle, you want to do your
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to bring to your attention a couple of things from the report. We do have some program updates. I think in a previous update, there had been an intention by WSU Tech about an LMHT program, and this is not an error. This is WSU, so we have 2 actual intents. We are getting submissions probably for the September meeting, but I wanted to update you that we do have those 2 things kind of in the hopper. In terms of program updates, Flint Hills Technical College, their current administrator will be leaving the end of June. There's no decision yet regarding a new program director at this time. Pittsburgh State announced that Amy Height, congratulations, is going to be the new director of the School of Nursing. Cheryl Buford, our present one, is retiring or moving to a different position for a little while and then retiring, I think, after that. And thank you for your years of service as well, and congratulations to Amy for that move up. I think most everything else is pretty general. I do want to mention we did distribute the education annual reports in mid-April. They are due June 30th, and we are a little over halfway there with submissions. There are still some out there, and I'll be sending a reminder probably at the end of board meetings on Wednesday to those that are still outstanding. But I think we're pretty well on track from where we've been other times. I think that was all I wanted to mention there. There is one additional thing that's not in the report that I wanted to bring up. This is something that came up in administrator meetings yesterday with our associate degree and particularly our practical nursing council. There is a new rule out or regulation or requirement out by the U.S. Department of Education that's affecting, it has to do with the federal financial aid, and I'm going to count on a couple people in the audience who know this too, but the bottom line is that it may, what the Department of Education is saying the new rule is goes into effect July 1. We really don't know enough about it to talk about it today, but the intent is that it could affect, because in our regulations we say a minimum of 15 credit hours, that the Department of Education could hold that as a maximum 100% of a program, and none of our programs that are freestanding. This affects freestanding and degree programs. So our bi-levels would not be affected, and our, anybody who doesn't get federal financial aid would not be affected, but we have 17 PN programs that would be. So I think the intent is this needs to be looked at further. The problem with this is July 1 date. We wanted to bring it forward to let you know it could be. There's some attorney opinions out there. Some say it could be, some say maybe not. We don't know enough to make that decision, but I think the intent is that the schools are going to be contending with that as well, and that maybe KSBN might want to have.
They need to look at our reg.
Right.
Okay. So we'll ask for some additional data, and maybe we could even have our attorney, Charles, I see Charles is on the phone, review that and.
And I think one of the,
some
yeah,
information back. in
right, one of the
September.
intentions was if schools are working with their regulatory board, there is some leeway for that July 1 date. So we wanted to make sure it got in front of you as a potential concern. So yes, I think further research is, and be able to talk about it with more understanding at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes my report unless there are questions.
Thank you very much, Janelle. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 3 items on our consent agenda. They were the draft regulations that we reviewed and approved at our last meeting, the 2024 site visit, and then I believe there's 2 petition summaries. Unless there's any questions or concerns, we take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda, which includes draft regulation review approval, KAR 60-2-106, KAR 60-2-107, and 60-2-108, 2024 site visit schedule, and petition summary 2/24/24 through 5/11/24.
Thank you, Michelle. We have a motion. Is there a second? Thanks, Patty. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries. Okay, let's go to our site visits. So we'll start with Flint Hills Technical College. Anyone here from Flint Hills?
Yep, we're back here in the corner.
Would you like to come up to the table and join us?
Sure.
Maybe tell us who you are and then a little bit about what you're asking for here.
My name is Elviana Crabtree, and I'm the Director of Nursing at Flint Hills Technical College. And I've never done this before, so I'm not sure process. Yeah, just reviewing the site visit. We do have an update. We do have a director named now. Julie Heitman will be joining us and taking my place. Not sure about the beginning of your contract, but July 1.
Okay.
July
Yeah,
1.
just be sure and send me that information.
Absolutely, yeah,
Great.
absolutely. And then some of the site visit information I've already updated with Janelle, our faculty qualification reports that needed to be done. And then we're working on the recommendations that are due by September, so.
So on page 34, in case you haven't found it yet, there is the list of recommendations from the site visit. Several of them are due, as she referenced, on September 30th with the revised program evaluation plan for December 31st was the recommended due date. We're glad to hear that you have a new administrator name. That's good. Any questions from the committee? There's several recommendations on here. Knowing that, would we want to consider maybe approval for 1 year and then go back and revisit and ensure that all of these are updated?
I think that would give the new administrator time to get familiar before another audit.
So I'll entertain a motion if there's,
I move to accept the site visit report with recommendation for Flint Hills Technical College PN program and reapprove for 1 year with a subsequent site visit after that year.
thank you. We have a motion, is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Manhattan Area Technical College.
Hi, I'm Kim Davis, the Dean of Nursing and Education and Health Programs at Manhattan Tech.
Their packet starts on page 35, recommendations are on page 13. They're,
47.
oh, sorry, it's, yeah, you're right. They've got 2 page numbers, okay. 47. Our recommendations are very short.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the site visit report with recommendation for Manhattan Area Technical College PN program and reapproval for 5 years.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I second.
Michelle, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, and Bethel. This is part of our on-site packet.
Good morning, I'm Becky Bartell from Bethel College, Director of Nursing.
Have less time with this packet, but it too has very few recommendations. Are there any questions from the committee?
Madam Chair, I move to accept the site visit report for Bethel College BSN program and reapprove for the time period of national accreditation.
Thank you, Amy. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Didn't file also.
Thanks, Debbie. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Thank you. Move on to new business and our major curriculum changes. Fort Hays State University.
Hi, I'm Judy Manry, Chair of the Department of Nursing at Fort Hays, and I have Dr. Sandy Smith, who is my assistant chair. We are excited to be here today. We have spent the last couple of years working with stakeholders across Western Kansas, trying to see if there is a way that we can help fill the gap in some of our rural communities. Just this last week, I got a call from an agency that we get a variety of small agencies, whether they're helping children, older adults, and then we have our nursing homes, our clinics, and many of them are to the point where if they lose another nurse, they're at the point of shutting down. And if they call begging, can you please just send me a new graduate? Can you send me an alumni? And one of the things we recognize is we can send you an alumni, but we're pulling from someplace else. So the real question is how do we get more nurses in those Western Kansas communities? I think one thing that Fort Hays is very good at is knowing who our stakeholders are and recognizing that Western Kansas is really our region. Tanya and I go out to Colby, Liberal, Garden City. We meet with hospitals. We have a full-time person who goes and visits clinics just so we know what their needs are. And one of the things that we hear is we need nurses. One thing that we know is that if we educate people in place, they'll be much more likely to stay in place. This last year, we were honored to get 2 federal grants and had Senator Moran come. And he talked about something that I like to put in my grants. And I went and chatted with him afterwards. And I said, listening to you speak was like reading my grant, because he just had that love for rural Kansas that Dr. Smith and I have. And one of the things he said was that if the rural community doesn't have a hospital, grocery store, or a school, you don't have a rural community. And it is so true. So the faculty are great. They love it. I can always see the look of, we were waiting for this. And I say, I have this brilliant idea that is a little bit far-fetched. And then they always spend time listening to see where we can find middle ground. And we've spent 2 years going back and forth and figuring out how can we educate students in place and be able to have the same quality education. We feel that Fort Hays is probably the best in Kansas to do this. We have a tremendous virtual online offerings to where our DNP program, the national average, just got published for A&P for nurse practitioners, went from 74 to 73% as the national average. And since we started our DNP program in 2020, we actually just got all of our 2024 tested. We've had 100% every time. And we do that by making sure that we have the same rigor for those hybrid programs as what we do. So with that said, I'll let Dr. Smith tell you a little bit about our vision for this program.
So with our hybrid pathway for our BSN pre-licensure program, we plan to initially start small with a cohort of 10 admitted once a year, just to ensure that we do it right and have quality education. The additional seat request that we put in our packet is to allow for growth in either our on-campus or the hybrid pathway, depending on where the needs are, recognizing that we continually have wait lists and we are still filling those spots. So we have been full and we recognize that we're continuing to grow. The hybrid pathway will offer the theory courses virtually with synchronous testing to maintain that rigor for NCLEX preparation. The lab classes will have some bundled time where they come to campus, but with also some at-home practice and some virtual monitoring. The practicum classes are going to be a little bit unique in that we're going to try to do the precepted and observation experiences in the student's area. So if that's a critical access hospital or somewhere close to where they're already living, and then the faculty-led clinicals will be in a centralized location. And we're also going to try to use virtual reality or simulation.
I might have Dr. Smith, for those of you that aren't familiar with virtual reality, can you explain to them what that means?
So there's a lot of different products out there right now, but Laerdal has one, for example. It's called VR Clinicals, and each student gets a VR headset and they're connected through their computer, but they can actually have clinical live with each other, with their group and their faculty member. And so they can simulate 4 to 8 hours, a whole clinical day through VR, them in their house, our faculty person, wherever they live, and it can be done simultaneously. So it's really amazing what you can do with technology nowadays. So we have great support. Faculty are on board, the university's on board. We have clinical sites that support this pathway. We have a lot of strong relationships with the critical access hospitals in Western Kansas. Even the main clinical sites that we use, Vermont Vale, Wesley Medical Center, they're all on board for hosting clinical activity in this pathway. With our continued success in NCLEX pass rates, our steady nursing student admission numbers, and FHSU's positive reputation for virtual learning, we are excited to offer students another pathway to get their BSN education, and we're really hopeful for this.
I might add that our 3-year pass rate, I just looked it up, was 94.75, but all 3 years have been well over 95 or 94, or sorry, 90%, all hovering right around that 94 to 95%. Our last 2 semesters have both been at 100%, and we spend a lot of time with faculty. In fact, we just talked to them in our retreat yesterday about doing bi-weekly meetings, and we met
Bi-monthly.
bi-monthly. And God bless them, they're like bi-weekly. We're stepping it up from bi-monthly, but yet they would have showed up. And one of the exciting things is we do a remediation lab on campus, and faculty yesterday were talking about, how can we bring this remediation lab online and allow students to hop into that remediation lab. So we really feel like we have the resources and the support, because in the end, I think all of our faculty came from rural communities, and they really just want to return nurses to those rural communities.
You've done a great job. You've done a really good job. So I think you've really, the charge that the legislature has given us to look for opportunities to address the nursing shortage, you've done that. So thank you for your work.
Thank you. So just to clarify, our request is to go to 90 to 120 to be able to use those in either program. Well, we feel like this will be an extremely popular program. We want to be able to go back if we do have a wait list, if for some reason we would want to use those on campus. And then we would like all of our courses to be classified as hybrid, with the understanding that our on campus, we don't have any intention of turning them hybrid. It's just the way our system works. We would like to be able to keep them on campus for on campus and hybrid for hybrid. So do you have any questions?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the major curriculum change request from Fort Hays State University BSN program to increase the number of yearly admission seats from 90 to 120 for the pre-licensure BSN program, and allow BSN pre-licensure program courses to have a hybrid delivery option.
So Amy, we have a motion?
Second.
Thanks, Patty. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Mid-America College for Health Science has submitted a curriculum change. And we have not been given full approval yet for this curriculum. So I'm going to table a curriculum change. I think we need to have full approval of our program before we can start submitting for changes. So I'm gonna table that change. That can come forth once there is full approval. Let's move to Beloit ADN program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My major curriculum change request is to add 5 additional seats to the ADN, to the second year program. We have currently 15 seats. In the original application to do the ADN program, it was in there that they wanted to adjust that every couple of years, and so we're following that. So my request is to add that 5 additional seats to the program. We currently have 15 seats, and I have 30 applicants for 24. So
Okay.
Remind me, how many PN do you admit?
we can admit up to 24. We voluntarily pulled it back to 40. We voluntarily pulled it back to 25. With that moving up as well each year, we haven't had near the students to even cap that out. However, this year we do have 20 already registered for the fall of 24. So.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the major curriculum change request for North Central Kansas Technical College Beloit ADN program to increase the student numbers from 15 to 20 students in the second year of the program beginning fall of 2024.
Thank you, Kylie. We have a motion.
I'll second.
Thanks, Bruce. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
Highland Community College.
And Colton, I believe Anna is on Zoom. If you could get her in the meeting with us, that would be great. Thumbs up.
I think we are on page 120.
Hello. Hi.
Can you go ahead and give us a summary of your curriculum change request?
Yeah, hold on just a second.
Okay.
So, I'm just, there's a lot of background noise going on around me, sorry. Our first course in our LPN to RN program is a transitions class from LPN to RN that since, well, the year after our course opened, the program opened, they were doing it online. The last couple of years, a couple of things have happened that have caused us to want to change that to a face-to-face course rather than an online course. The first one being that the school wants us to make our classes more in line with our semester hours and semester dates. And that spring semester typically doesn't start till the middle of January, but we were starting this course online the first week of January. So our thought being, if we have to move, if we have to start the class along with the rest of the spring courses, we would do it face-to-face. And the second reason being that and the course evaluations over the last couple of years, multiple students complained they don't like the online format for this course. It's just a simple, transitions class. It's not a whole lot of work that needs to be involved in it. So it would just be easier to start them with that class with the rest of their first semester classes.
Any questions from the committee?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the major curriculum change request from Highland County Community College LPN to RN transition program change NUR 220 LPN to RN transitions from hybrid to all face-to-face beginning September 2025.
Thank you, Ruth. We have a motion.
It's spring.
I think it's spring 20.
Wait, I was going to say, is that January of 25? Sorry.
Spring, sorry.
Okay,
Spring.
you scared me there for a second.
I second.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you guys for letting me do this on Zoom.
Is it, I think
The other request, yeah, is actually a minor change.
Oh, okay.
It could be been included with this too, but I can also do that's a minor change.
Okay. Okay. Wichita State Graduate Program. We are on page 140.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm Jamie Harrington, the director of the graduate program. So the biggest changes that we're requesting are for the post-baccalaureate to DNP program, which is our APRN tracks. And so we have the psych nurse practitioner, acute care, and the family nurse practitioner. And our biggest change is we had a 4.5-year program that did not include summers. And this program will just shorten down to 3.5 with mandatory summers. Another part that we changed was a progression of the DNP project courses over about 4 semesters. Previously, they were doing it in 2 semesters. And so students were really struggling with that. Clinicals will go clear up until graduation. In our current program, they have a semester, 1 to 2 semesters off before graduation, which we don't think is really a great idea. And then we've added more specialization content to align with the AACN essentials and the NOF standards. More specific courses like in the FNP program, we have specifically a women's health course, pediatric primary care 3, that kind of dives a little bit deeper into more acute care content. And then also including some of that interprofessional education that's required by AACN. It won't change anything with the clinical hours. We're already at 820. And the credit hours, there's very minor changes to that, between no credit hours to 3 to 4 credit hours difference in the total curriculum. So.
And you presented this as one motion, correct?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I was correct.
Yeah, since they're all post-baccalaureate to DNP, just those 3 different specializations, so.
Questions from the committee?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the major curriculum change from Wichita State University DMP program, FNP AG-ACNP, PM HNP tracks to increase specialization content to improve competency and competence of the graduates to meet new AACN essentials, including summer content, and provide DMP project courses in succession to build on content learned and to help with project success.
Thank you, Patty. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I said,
I'll second. Thank you very much. Okay, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Is there an abstention? All right, motion carries. And thank you. Hey, Coffeyville Community College, we are on. I've got 223.
18 is the letter.
Oh, yeah, 18 is the letter, okay.
Good morning.
Good
I'm
morning.
Anastasia O'Connell, Director of Nursing at Coffeyville Community College. We have multiple major curriculum changes like that we'd like to propose for our practical nursing program, beginning with removal of our care of aging adult course. It's present in our 2nd semester. Recognizing that those are important competencies that we want to carry through, we would like to move that to a changed course from Nursing Care of Adults 1 to what we'll now call Medical Surgical Nursing 1, with an increase of credit hours to accommodate those competencies moving over. Based on feedback from students and faculty, we feel the best approach for us would be to incorporate those competencies in a systems-based approach when they're learning those competencies, to learn them for adults and older adults as well. Similar change that we're also requesting to our leadership course, with removal of that course, moving those competencies into our Nursing Care of Adults 2 course, which we're going to change to Medical Surgical Nursing 2. Moving those competencies over and increasing that by a credit hour as well. That course was present at the end of our program, and we found that students really struggled to commit at that point, recognizing that those leadership competencies are something that we want to carry through with the practical nurse. We wanted to move it into a course where they would value that information more. We're also changing our clinical components to our medical surgical courses as well, and in requesting an increase to our maternal child nursing course, an increase of 1 credit hour.
Just so you know that all those changes have been we incorporated into one motion. It's in your packet as 6 or 7 separate. If there's anything you want to pull out, you would have to. You could do a motion separately that way, but that's how it was written.
Any discussion from the committee?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the major curriculum change request from Coffeyville Community College PN program to number 1, remove course NSPN 161 KSPN Care of Aging Adults from 2nd semester. Number 2, change course NSPN 121 KSPN Nursing Care of Adults 1 to NSPN 122 Medical Surgical Nursing 1, and increase credit hours from 4 credits to 5 credits to incorporate concepts of care of aging adults. Number 3, change clinical component NSPN 126 KSPN Nursing Care of Adults 1 clinical to NSPN 127 Medical Surgical Nursing 1 clinical. Number 4, remove course NSPN 180 KSPN Leadership Roles and Issues from 2nd semester. Number 5, change course NSPN 141 KSPN Nursing Care of Adults 2 to NSPN 142 Medical Surgical Nursing 2, and increase credit hours from 4 credits to 5 credits to incorporate concepts of care of aging adults. Number 6, change clinical component NSPN 146 KSPN Nursing Care of Adults 2 clinical to NSPN 147 Medical Surgical Nursing 2 clinical. Number 7, change course NSPN 151 KSPN Maternal Child Nursing to NSPN 151 maternal child nursing 1, and increase credit hours from 2 credits to 3 credits. And number 8, change clinical component NSPN 156, KSPN maternal child nursing clinical to NSPN 157, maternal child nursing 1 clinical.
Only one correction on that second one, or number 5.
Mhm.
It's to incorporate concepts of leadership, roles and issues in that MedSurg 2 course. I may have inadvertently put care of aging on both.
Oh,
My
okay.
apologies.
Okay.
The motion should be for leadership in that second one.
So number 5 should read, change NSPN 141 KSPN nursing care of adults 2 to NSPN 142 medical surgical nursing 2, and increase credit hours from 4 to 5 credits to incorporate concepts of leadership, roles, issues. Exactly. Okay. Roles and issues.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. You have a motion? Second. Thanks, Amy. Any discussion?
Can I just ask a question real quick? Anastasia, do you think this is gonna cause any problem for transfer since they physically can't see aging and leadership any longer?
That was one of our concerns whenever we started and we looked at articulation agreements that we currently have. And there wasn't a requirement specifically for gerontology nursing, so.
And leadership either?
Correct.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, KU School of Nursing Graduate Program.
And Colton, I believe Dr. Teal was going to be on Zoom. Hoping. She was out of town. I wasn't sure.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to join via Zoom. Thanks for connecting me, Colton. Got back from Alaska late last night, so I'm a little time challenged, but I'm really glad to be with you virtually at least. So I'm Cindy Teal. I'm the Associate Dean for Academic and Faculty Affairs at the University of Kansas School of Nursing. And I bring forward today request for major curriculum change for the specialty courses that are connected with the family nurse practitioner specialty. We have had existing the NRSG 914 and 915 as primary care for the FNP specialty for a number of years. And as faculty are beginning to work through really a complete curricular redesign for the 2021 AAC and Essentials and the competency based approach, they wanted to start with revisioning of the primary care specialty courses for the FNP, which is why we're bringing those courses forward now, so that the faculty can know that that's their starting point and then progress to the rest of the curriculum. And we will then either next board meeting or the December board meeting be bringing forward a full proposal for changes with the rest of the FNP curriculum. But this is the first step in that. So rather than having 2 primary care didactic courses, there will be 4, and there you see the outlines before you. And we will adjust the credit hours so that the entire program will remain at 75 credit hours for the FNP specialty. So that's it, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the committee?
No.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the major curriculum change request from KU School of Nursing Graduate Program to implement 4 new FNP didactic courses. Number 1, NRSG 984, Primary Care Across the Lifespan 1. Number 2, NRSG 985, Primary Care Across the Lifespan 2. Number 3, NRSG 986, primary care across the lifespan 3. And number 4, NRSG 987, primary care across the lifespan 4, for the FNP certificate and DNP program beginning summer 2025. When implemented, these 4 didactic courses, 10 credit hours, will replace NRSG 914 and 915 6 credit hours.
And so we have a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much, Dr. Teal.
Thank you.
Let's do Baker University. We are on page 260, I believe. Yes.
Hello, I'm Libby Rosendean, Baker University School of Nursing.
Renee Seastrom, Assistant Dean.
Okay. What would you like to?
So we are proposing to shift a half credit hour from our transitions course to our pharmacology 1 course. Feedback from students and faculty have been to increase the credit hour to give more time to dedicate more time to content and to allow more time for application activities.
Any questions?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the major curriculum change request from Baker University to reallocate 0.5 credits from NU 486 transitions to NU 301, Farm 1 to provide more time and Farm 1 to fully cover content.
Patty, we have a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Any extensions? Thank you. University of St. Mary's.
Nicole, I believe Tina Howard is, I hope that's the right last name. Sorry, Tina, if that's wrong. Okay. Karen is gone, so Tina's presenting.
Morning. Yes, it is Tina Howard.
I'm sorry, it just was like.
It's all good. It's all good. Oh, and let me unvideo myself too. So you can see my face. Okay. So good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Tina Howard. I'm the program director of our undergraduate program at University of St. Mary. And we have 2 courses that we want to change from being completely online to hybrid. It is a NU 101 drug calculations and NU 433 aging and end of life care. With our drug calculations course, we use this for students who may struggle with doing the basic math of nursing, and we believe that it would be beneficial to them to have some classroom time to actually work through the math and the problems and everything. And so we thought, while it does have the benefits of online, it could use the benefits of having face-to-face too. So we wanted to make that hybrid. And then with our aging course, we, once again, while there are benefits to it being online, we wanted to add a simulation so that we could bring a little bit more hands-on care to that course. And so while we don't want to go completely on the ground with that course, we believe having that hybrid piece will give us that flexibility of putting in some additional type of coursework so that they can get a better understanding of aging and end-of-life care.
Dr. Howard, I see the NU 433. I'm not seeing the pharmacology.
No, it's a drug calculations course, NU 101. Did Dr. Cater submitted the one?
That's what I have in the packet. That's what I remember from and unless it was my mistake, but I printed off everything that she sent.
Okay.
So all we have is the aging and end of life care.
Okay. Well, then I will bring that one up for, that's the one we're going to change.
So we'll look for a submission for that, maybe for our September meeting.
Yes.
That sounds great, Dr. Hart. So, we'll just look at the MU 433. aging
Okay.
and end of- Any questions from the committee?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the major curriculum change request from University of St. Mary to change the delivery method of NU AT 433 aging and end of life care and nursing from online to hybrid delivery.
Thank you, Ruth. We have a motion.
I second.
Thanks, Michelle. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. We are kind of at a nice break spot. Maybe we will take a pause right there for 10 minutes and come back at 9:30. Try up some loose ends, so. Thank you, Dr. Hazas.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll get back to you on the other.
Hey Colton, this is Carol. Do I need to mute it and shut the video off from this laptop, or do you do that?
Okay, so it'd be easier if you would just mute it and mute the video, because then you can undo it on your end easier. But there you go. You're good.
you very much, Colton. Okay, following along on our agenda, we are ready for initial application for BSN program from Southwestern College.
Good morning.
I think we're on page 291.
I'm Shauna Turner. I'm the director of the BSN program, pre-licensure program at Southwestern College.
And I'm J.K. Campbell, Associate Vice President of Academic Affairs and Dean of the Faculty.
Thank you for being here.
And thank you for considering our initial application to reopen a BSN program at Southwestern College. This particular program is one of several programs that really rose to the top when we were going through our strategic planning process as a program that would better serve our community and region if we were to reopen the program, and really high on the list, and a lot of community support for reopening this program, and we know the need is very real.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, thank you very much. Hey, anything you'd like to call out about your application?
The application is for 20 seats that we would start in the fall of 25. The process we've started a year ago in this initial application, and we're excited to receive any feedback on how we can make improvement as we move forward with this request.
There's some really nice letters in here as well from the hospital as well as surrounding community hospitals. Cumbernauld wrote a really nice letter. I don't know if you've had the chance to read through that. Any questions from the committee?
Sonia, is there any worry about, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Is there any concern about not having enough clinical space because you're in a busy clinical area?
We are in a busy clinical area. We are going to utilize our hospital, William Newton, basically that is like 5 or 6 blocks from the college, and really focus on that for our initial junior class coming through, and then utilizing the Wichita hospitals for those higher level experiences.
I did, and I think you did clarify it. It was really about clinical space and how you plan to do that in the answer to the question.
One of the things I would just point out as well is that the hospital, William Newton, has allowed us to utilize a building across the street for our simulation lab. And so we're in the process of doing a collaboration with Butler Community College as well as Cali to establish that space. And it's going to be an awesome space where we're all going to be able to utilize that for the best experience for our students. So we're very excited about that.
Appreciate the collaboration. Good job. Any other questions from the committee?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the initial application for Southwestern College's Bachelor of Science Nursing program at the main campus in Winfield, Kansas, as a face-to-face program with planned start in fall of 2025, with a site visit to be done prior to admission of students, requesting 20 admits annually.
We have a motion.
I second.
Thanks, Michelle. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries. Thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask a question regarding how the site visit is scheduled now that you already have your approved site visit scheduled for the?
I'm gonna let you know. Jump in.
It's just a matter of that what's on the schedule is already scheduled, but it doesn't mean we can't add something in. We'll look at your readiness, and I'll talk to Shauna about that in terms of what has to be done for the site visit. There's usually some work between the initial application and what needs to be ready for the site visit. And then we can schedule it for when you determine that those things are complete.
Perfect.
So
Thank
it'll
you.
be with me.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Great job. Okay. We have our new regulation. This is our review process, and we are reviewing some LMHT regulations here. I know we have some updates and potentially some adjusted, there's some changes to come to these regulations. In this process right here, all we're doing is really validating that the regulation is still necessary. It doesn't mean we can't make changes in the future, so this is just a review that we still need the regulations. The question is, should we sunset the regulation or keep it, is really what we're answering with this, so. With that, let's start with KAR 60-5-102. Before.
Reg is actually on. The reg is actually on 388.
So this is the approval procedure for an LMHT program.
I'll start. So, as someone who sat on the committee to look at these regs to see what we needed to do, with everybody that was involved, it wasn't just people thinking about doing it or people that wanted to do LMHT, but it was also the facilities. There's still a lot of ambiguity on how to make it work. I think it was very, very unanimous that it can't work the way it's currently written. However, there were a lot of things thrown out about it, but since we're just dealing with the reg right now, it doesn't seem to work the way it's written. And I know it's either a keep it or ditch it. I don't know if there's an amend it or if we just get rid of it and then rewrite something that works, but I think there's still interest in it.
Okay, I think that is the key, where then the work here, if there is interest in an LMHT program, my recommendation is that we keep the regulations and then we take the committee's work to adjust them. But the work here would be just to say, yes, we're going to keep the regulation, and, you know, to answer potential revocation would mean closing the LMHT licensure and completely, if we choose to do away with these regs, it basically closes that licensure.
Okay, and with that being said, and why we recognize that if people still like it, want it, most of the facilities need it, but it still is only encompassed within Kansas. So they can't get it here and then think they're gonna go to Missouri and use it as an LMHT, because it truly is just us.
I think behavioral sciences is a topic of such discussion, and knowing the changes that are coming to our state. There's the large hospital that's in the planning stages in South Central Kansas. You know, there's expansion from several other psychiatric hospitals throughout the state. It may not be a long-lived licensure. I worry about closing it without having plans to bring people into the workforce. This gives them an educational opportunity to come into that workforce prepared versus just going on the job training type.
And I think it's a step up if they want to go into nursing. I think it's a step up to get more people into nursing, but it does need a lot of work.
And there are a couple of states, I know that they are all very independent, but there are a couple of states that do have something similar. Right? The regulations do not cross borders and all of that, but there is similar. So that's just my personal opinion. I think it's up to the committee to decide whether we keep this or.
Right, and I agree about keeping it. I see a need for it. My concern is not having any regulation at all, and then it is OJT.
Okay.
And personally, I've been there and done that with psych techs. I'm also worried about our state hospital. I really want to make sure that whatever we do, that it promotes their quality there and their continued operations. And I know a lot of this revolves around concerns about them running short and not having what they need. I do think in the review that I did, I wasn't able to be on the subcommittee because of my sprain, but I do think we need to rewrite it. I think the number of credit hours is a barrier. We've talked about that. I think that could be reduced and changed, definitely.
I think you have a really good point, Ruth, and Carol and I recently visited Osawatomie. I say recently, in the last 3 to 4 years. 3 years probably now.
It was a year ago December.
Was it a year ago? COVID messes up.
I know.
But they, the students there highly advocated for this program and talked about the benefit and the sense of safety that it brought them during their workday. And, you know, that was very impactful for me to hear that from the students.
I agree. And I've been there visiting. I am very impressed and I just want to see them be successful. I think we need to support our state hospital.
Okay. So the rules necessary does serve and identify public, but it does need to be rewritten so that it's a workable piece of legislation.
Agreed. And revocation of this regulation would eliminate an entry path into nursing and clinical professions, as well as limit workforce for behavioral health clinical settings.
All right, here's what I have. This regulation needs to undergo major revision so that it can serve as a pathway for mental health professions and nursing to properly serve the constituents of Kansas and our state hospitals.
So did we make a motion for that, or do we just approve that when it comes back the next time? We approve it the next time. So we'll go on to KAR 60-5-1.
We have the right number for them. We have to do if the rule and regulation is not in active use and revocation would require change in authorizing or implementing. So we put no revocation, just
no revocation. Okay, so KAR 60-5-103. Okay, discontinuing.
Like formal notice of discontinuance.
Yeah, and what they're gonna do about and records and that kind of thing.
It's gonna be a very similar response to all three of these.
Yeah.
We'll have to improve processes, communication, and the curriculum. So,
yes. This provides notice of any discontinuation for reason or major change in the program regulation. Persons, state institutions. Okay, this provides notice of any discontinuation for reason or major change in the program regulation to inform programs, persons, and state institutions.
And then the last one, KAR 60-6-101. This one probably feels the most uncomfortable just because it's not operational in the way that it's written, but we know that it is necessary. It just needs to be reviewed. Yes.
The necessity of this regulation allows for changes and improvements to the regulation. This includes delivery type, curriculum, change.
Concerns with that? No, I see. Seriously. Read it one more time.
The necessity of this regulation allows for changes and improvements to the regulation. This includes delivery type and curriculum changes.
And then we will hear later in our agenda about potentially some recommendations to start looking at. Great. Thanks, Patty. I appreciate your help on that. Okay, page 401. KSBN scholarship. So this is our annual scholarship that we do. Janelle's provided you the topics that we've encouraged students to write on over the last several years. Typically we get, two years out of a topic, and we're at that point now where it might be time for a change. So is there any thought about what our topic for our next scholarship might be?
I would like to see something on the use of artificial intelligence in nursing.
That's my
Too far out there. Is
Yeah,
that what you were gonna say?
exactly.
That's a great one. That's a great one. How has the delivery of nursing been impacted by artificial intelligence?
And potential uses.
And
I'd
potential
like to see it
uses?
address potential uses. Because that will require them to do some exploration. I think that would be good.
I don't know if we need a motion for that. We just
No.
need a consensus. So
I just need to know is to put on the applications and
Yeah.
so they know what to write about.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, great. Great idea. Sounds like several of you had that thought, so thanks for saying that. Okay, let's move on to unfinished business. So we are on page 402, Mid-America College of Health Sciences. I am gonna give us a time frame. I'm gonna give us 10 minutes to discuss through this. I will tell you, this is really overwhelming. We are used to seeing concise packets of exactly what we've asked for. And there are, I mean, this is, I almost feel like there's so much data presented, there's something hidden within this. So I know that there are several questions from the board here, but when we ask for certain things, we're looking for that policy, not necessarily the whole policy manual. So for future reference, please don't submit the entire book, okay? So there's several recommendations that are noted in here, and I know that we've asked for some very specific follow-up. Do you have the page numbers that we've requested that address the recommendations? Okay. Okay, so,
Yeah, no.
she's noted them here, so you probably need this copy to speak from. You have another one? Okay, okay. So under organizational chart for the institution, she's stating page 483. Where we go to for that. Let's see how we can do this. Okay. On the second page, under audited fiscal report covering the previous 2 years, that one is page 426 through 458. Under description of the nursing program, the organizational chart, that's on page 483. So moving on to the next page, we're now under nursing program administrator and faculty under responsibilities, page 788. Under faculty selection and input into the program, that last one under general faculty meeting minutes for the last 3 years, that's page 780 through 782. Okay, so faculty qualifications include a table that displays the following information. Area of clinical expertise is page 814 and 815. This is probably difficult for those of you that are electronic. Preceptor qualifications and information. No preceptors identified except during interviews. That's on page 586.
What was the table? I didn't.
814, 815.
I didn't.
It's just summary.
It's summaries of qualifications. I didn't. Do we need a table?
Well, the table was is usually for the site visit
Oh,
itself.
okay.
So we may not normally see
Oh,
it.
okay.
There was a table there at the time. Or not a table there at the time and that's why that was put in there, that we wanted to see qualifications. And they did also submit resumes for everybody. I didn't put all those in there
Right, but I saw the
in terms of the qualifications.
Yes.
Preceptor qualifications, did I say that one already?
Yeah.
No preceptors, page 586. Okay, so then on that same page, down at the bottom under student policies, not able to find an actual degree plan, that's on page 565 through 566. And then the next one down, no policy in the catalog or handbook. That's on page 678. And then the last one on that page, could not find any policy or mention of this in the handbook that's pertaining to the student versus employee role. This is page 493 through 497 and 590 through 595. Now I'm at, could not find any policy or mention of this in handbooks or catalog. That's page 960 through 961. And also 564. That same page at the bottom, student support services. Do not find policy description. It's education 509 to 513. And 528 through 535. Okay, going to the next page. Student handbook is now updated with the student wellness policy. This is page 509 through 513. 528 through 531. Going to the next page, the list all simulation hours for each relevant course. It says no breakdown of simulation hours. That's supposed to be on 459 through 472. And the testing process with test analysis and written test procedure. It says no policy in faculty handbook. That's on 595 through 602. Okay, I'm gonna jump several pages. It goes now to page 416 in your book. Your advisory committee. Did not meet with the advisory committee or see the minutes. It's 958 through 961. Next one down, financial support of nursing programs. Audit report not yet available. That's page 426 through 458. And then the next item down is the budget process. CEO develops the budget. This is 473 and 474. Okay, that goes through that table. There are some additional information back here. Did I miss that one? It's on 470. There's nothing noted there.
Okay. Program evaluations. Appendix M, and I don't know if I have, do you have the page number for the
program evaluation plan where that starts.
What page are you on?
17.
What I see at the beginning of the evaluation plan.
Okay, that's what I'm looking at. 479.
821, the education committee number, packet number.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are some additional page numbers written under. You want to go straight there? You want to do opportunities for improvement? Those aren't regulatory, those are just, okay. So their number one recommendation, the need to develop policies. Page 521 through 522. And 672 through 674. Page 678. Page 526 through 527. Page 523 through 526. Page 524. Page 679. Page 493 through 497. Page 518. Page 527. Page 533 through page 534. Page 513 through 514. Page 488 through 490.
These are for number one.
They are for number one and number two, so it's all grouped together. Well,
Actually, there's
big bullet
9,
number one.
yeah, there's
Yes.
actually 10 policies that are listed here to make sure they were included, so. Some of the numbers have some admission, it has to have generic transfer articulation, so some of those page numbers should include multiple, some are individual.
So it might be easier to give the committee a copy of this. And going on to big bullet number, I think this is number 3, develop organizational charts. Still under recommendations, so that's page 483 and page 552. And then need a degree certificate plan. That is page 565 through 566. Clinical ladders need to have observation. That's page 733 through 754. Clinical schedules should clearly depict every student faculty. Is page 755 through 760. I know I'm on the last page here. Faculty members are on site at nursing facilities and collaborative faculty staff or facility staff. So that's page 761 through 764. And pages 586 through 588. Second to the last bullet, develop a program evaluation plan. This is education 765 through 956. And then that very last bullet about the website and what is depicted on the website, it says that it was updated on June 30th.
June.
Oh, sorry, June 3rd. June 3rd. Okay, so I recognize the committee has not had that information as you did your prep work to come today. I will ask if there's questions or knowing that we just received that information.
I do have a question. So all of these items that have been included in the packet, and all the page numbers, I mean, like one of them spans almost 200 pages. Are these new things that have been written in, or are these things that, because I know last time, Susan, we talked, when you said it was there, it just wasn't in the right place. So are these things that were existing before when they did the audit, or these are things that you've done to rectify?
Most of them, and to introduce myself, I'm Dr. Gina Taylor, the Director of Nursing, the new Director of Nursing. Most of them were already existing. We just put them in the correct order as per recommendation. There were a few updates. So whatever recommendation there was that we needed to update, we did that.
I can only speak for myself, and not the entire education committee, but it's monumentally overwhelming to look at what we now have page numbers for. And with the amount of recommendations, I question, would it, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to do with all the information. Would it be better just to go back now that they've done this work and just do another complete audit? And bring back recommendations off of a new audit now that they've done this work?
That sounds reasonable to me.
I think that sounds reasonable. My concern too is some of the information on the website. I have not been there since June the 3rd, so this may already be corrected. We have it up, is it?
I think the only thing that you changed all the initial approvals. That was one of them. The degree plan is now on the website. This is the only thing that saying that 24, 25 cohorts will start in the fall of 2024 is not really what the board asked for. Because we don't know if it's going to start in fall. So that's still a little bit misleading for students. That was the only concern about talking about
And I'm
the
sorry,
website.
because we updated with, that it must have, we didn't save, because we did update as waiting for board approval, so
Okay.
we must have didn't save that, because.
Yeah, under your program
that.
schedule,
Okay.
it still says we'll start in fall 2024.
And I see where you have on here, the TM program is being held pending board approval. It's the sentence right above that I think
It
still
just makes
gives
that a
some
little
question. So. Is pending, I can see where you've made some changes, so thank you for it. I like your recommendation. I don't know how, if there's comments from the rest of the committee. I think there's a lot of information that's been updated here. It's really hard to cross match and reconcile it, so maybe another audit being done with this updated data would give us.
It should go a lot smoother than the first one because now everything's in where it should be. So it would be, I think it would save everybody a lot of time. There's no way we can do this in 10 minutes.
No. I do think it's important to also recognize, I think this has been brought to your attention about some of the facilities that you partner with and making sure that you have appropriate faculty on site for the cohort that's there. It is a maximum 1-to-10 ratio that, you know, it's hard for us to say we're not there present in the facility at the time, but that complaint was very very clear in what the concern was and that they were unable to find faculty present and there were more than 10 students. So please make sure that you're following that regulation. And then I think that we would entertain a motion for a return visit. Okay.
Okay. Madam Chair, I move to recommend another first graduation site visit for Mid-America College of Health Sciences PN program to be done as a full audit rather than focused. And that visit is to be done prior to admission of a new class.
Do we have a motion?
One second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, let's go to Allied Career Health Training, and we are moving to page 968.
My name is Connor Powell. I'm the CEO of Allied Health Career Training.
Danielle Kaufman, I'm the administrator of the PN program.
Thank you for being here. So is your position now a full-time position? How is?
No, ma'am, still part-time.
Still part-time. And how are you addressing the needs of the full duties of the position?
A variety of ways, lots of different hands. I'm there every Tuesday afternoon after work. And then also I'm available always by phone, email, whatever they need. And Diane and Connor and I set aside time in the evenings when we can all get together and address things, also attend meetings on Thursdays, usually virtually, but also I've been in class as well. So Tuesdays will be the day that all the students are there. So that's the day that we picked for me to definitely be in the office.
Is there questions from the committee?
Recommendations are on 978, just so in case you're still scrolling.
I'm still scrolling.
Yeah, thank you. My reader.
Just for clarification, that first one revised the program administrator job description. That was sent and is in the packet. I just didn't put a page number for it. So I'm looking.
That's what I'm through the curriculum. do too.
Okay, Danielle, I printed everything that you sent me. Was the job description?
Do you have a faculty handbook by chance? We know.
It's not in the handbook.
We would like to see that job description. We're not finding it in our documents. On the program evaluation, there's some talk about the student evaluations. Can you say a little bit more about how you do program evaluation?
At least quarterly, we're gonna re-evaluate the courses as well as testing, test scores, as far as what the students about what the students, their evaluations as well, and just come together as a collaborative group. See what went well and what didn't go well. And we're gonna do that at least quarterly for now.
Do you think you're gonna have enough information if you do it quarterly to make to do a comparison?
Not at first, no, but there's obviously lots of changes in the first. We'll have enough to talk about it very sure.
You've done a lot of work. There's significant improvement here. We appreciate that. We would like to see the job description. Speak for myself, I'm concerned about the hours and availability that you've shared. Personally, I am not an educator. I know that it takes a lot of time and commitment to maintain these pass rates, and I am worried that it is doable with the format that you have.
Absolutely, and I understand your concern for that, and obviously we want students to pass. That's why we're all here. Qualified students to pass. That's why we're all here. The good thing about our students is they're not traditional students. They're not Monday through 5 students. They're evening, weekend people. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a Monday through Friday and readily available what I need.
I understand. I think it's more than just the students. I think it's developing partnerships within the community and maintaining appropriate clinical sites and the development of the curriculum. There's a lot of time spent beyond just the classroom hours. And I preach into the choir. I know that. So.
Since I did the audit and I saw what it was at the first, it's a complete turnaround, and I love what they've done with stuff and they followed suggestions. Could we do the approval for the seats dependent on getting the job description into Janelle and it passing and having everything that's required. And then we'll have the follow-up, if they're gonna do quarterly, when we do that first follow-up grad, we'll be able to see at least 4 of what they've done for program evaluation. And then we could look at if the program evaluation is working, not working, plus we'll have pass rates.
At that point, yeah. That would make sense.
Yeah, with your recommendation, you're the one that saw the documents and everything. So that's
I-
fine with me.
I feel they've done a tremendous amount of work. They really have.
I'm
I
surprised.
know, rewrite this, right? Hold on.
I found the program, or the, sorry, job description. Can I have that too?
Sure, okay. I thought you were gonna give us a page number.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I did not.
Well, you know, if you guys would have a one-word program name, it'd be better for me. Okay. Madam Chair, I move to approve the initial site visit report for Allied Health Career Training PN program with a follow-up site visit to be done after the first graduating class is complete. And this to start after the receipt of the director's job description. What's your title?
Education.
By the Education Compliance Officer and to admit 20 students annually.
We have a motion. I'll second. Thank you, Bruce. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Okay, Fort Scott Community College, like an update, and this is on page 1148.
Morning.
Good morning.
My name is Sonia Gugnani and I'm the Vice President of Academic Affairs.
I'm Dr. Scotwitz. I am the Director of Nursing at Fort Scott Community College. I sent in an updated report, and so I'm just well, first of all, I'll just ask if there's any questions, and then I have a few little updates since the update. Okay. Questions about?
So can you talk a little bit about how you've included faculty members and the development of the curriculum and the program and how things are going with your faculty?
We're still working on that because we're getting new, we had one that left because her husband got a new job and they moved. And so we hired someone, they'd come on board. So we're going to, she will be included, of course. So we only had 2. So basically at the first of the semester, we come in about 2 weeks before the semester starts. We're going to get together and there's going to be quite an extensive meeting, shall we say, that's going to include a number of things from us, from me and from Elsevier, who also who has some of our online learning things. I try to include them. I have also I post all meeting notes, advisory board notes, anything. It's all posted on Blackboard. I have a special little section on Blackboard that they can always go in and see. And I try to include them in everything that I do, if, you know, as long as it's not something I have to do in the next 5 minutes and they're not available.
And since we have the visit, we've had this schedule that we meet, like we created a nursing task force to work on recommendations which were given to us at the time of the visit. So we have alumni from our program, and then we have our gen ed faculty involved, and director of nursing, me, to go through what our plan is, and we created. And then we have that's called a nursing task force. And then we have monthly meetings with our nursing faculty to make sure they are on the same page and we are communicating what we are talking about and how we are moving forward with that. And during those meetings with our faculty, we also invite our student reps from all 4 semesters to make sure, because that was another concern we had when we had the visit, that students didn't have a voice. So we invite representatives from all 4 semesters to come and talk the first 10 minutes in terms of how they're liking things, how things are going, what they're liking and what they're not liking, so that we can continue to improve on that. So, and whatever, whenever the faculty is not involved in the nursing task force, those meetings, like Dorcas said, they have been posted in Blackboard for everybody to see, because we want them to be, I mean, they're invited. It's not a closed door meeting, but since they're in classes, it's hard for faculty to come to those meetings. So we post those minutes so that they can.
I also, starting in the fall, because I just took over in January, so starting in the fall, we are going to have a weekly meeting on Thursday afternoons between me and the faculty to go over the things like test, peer testing, review testing and that type of thing. So we know exactly where we're going, what we're doing.
And I had a couple of other updates I wanted to give. First thing is, we have an interim president, and I sent that information to Janelle. Dr. Kegler is not there anymore, so we appointed an interim president, and she is on board. She's been with our college for a long time, and we had said that we are going to be moving nursing to our main campus, and that still in works. We last week we released the RFP, and we are getting bids because we want to renovate the place before we move nursing into our onto our main campus, and that is due by this Thursday. And we've had a couple of people interested, but I think the biggest thing is we want to make sure it is done before the semester starts. So July 31st is the deadline for them to be able to do all the work, and we are looking forward to that. In terms of our graduates, we had 5.
So construction work will be completed by July 31st.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because our semester would be starting August 18th. So that's why, and it's not a major construction in terms of, we want to make them ready for nursing classes. Yes. So, I mean, building is there. We just have to renovate the rooms to make sure that they have everything they need.
How about the fall instructors? Do they have their courses that they are planning to teach? Do they know what?
Absolutely. Yeah, the schedule is on, because we do our schedule in spring for fall. So yes, they are aware. We sent out the emails and they look at it, what they are teaching, their times and dates. And that was another feedback we had gotten from our students in terms of some students travel from far away and they were coming to take a class, or, 3rd semester, there were 2 days, and they requested, is it possible, instead of coming 2 days, can we do the class 1 day? And we absolutely talked to the rest of the students in that semester, because we wanted to make sure we accommodate everybody's needs, and they were all on board. They were very happy about it, and I was like, okay, we can make those changes. So yes, those courses are on our schedule.
Questions for the committee?
I also plan on going to all of our clinical sites. I know that surveys, for, whether our hospitals and healthcare facilities, how they view our students. I plan on making a visit to all the clinical sites, introduce myself. A lot of them know me, but introduce myself and find out if there's any concerns or good reports and or.
So we'll be happy to answer any
Any
questions
questions?
you have.
I think that would be really beneficial to make those site visits to the partnering facilities. There have been a couple complaints submitted. I think partnering with your faculty, including them in program development, focusing on some retention strategies, I think would be very healthy for the program. I think there've been some concerns raised, and I think that would go a long way in building relationships and partnering not only within the community, but within the university as well.
So I do have one question, Juliana. So, because you guys had your ASIN coming up, correct? Your ASIN visit. So with a change in faculty, especially since you only have 2, are you comfortable with the new faculty being up to speed? Because if part of ASIN is that the faculty is in charge of assessment. It can't come from the director. It has to be faculty led and faculty run. Do you have concerns that with a new one starting this close to your visit, that's going to be an issue?
Again, I don't know, but on the concern side, but I think all our other faculty, like we had one third semester started, I think, last semester. And I know when we have this turnover, it's hard to have consistency. And that's why we've involved our gen ed faculty to train them, because again, we want the assessment to come from them rather than somebody else is doing for them. So what we did from our side in terms of my office and gen ed faculty, the person who is in charge of assessment, helping them create rubrics and understanding what assessment is. And that's what we've been helping during in-service. That's our main goal too, because when they don't do assessment on a regular basis, it's hard for them to wrap their head around it. So we are there to provide support as much as we can. But again, what we want them to take from assessment is how your students are doing. Yes, we are there to help you create rubrics. We'll help you put in the data in terms of guide you. But looking at those results, that what you get is what kind of action plan you're making. And I think we're gonna let our faculty in, which they are doing. So I'm hoping.
I have a question as well, and it really revolves around faculty training and support. You know how it is with new faculty. A lot of them, they're nurses, but they've not had any training to be educators. And one area that I find is extremely helpful is understanding Bloom's taxonomy. I know you're using Elsevier, and I know that they have the Bloom's taxonomy reference on every exam question. And I think it would be very helpful if you haven't already done that, to really do some kind of an in-service initially, so they understand with exams that you don't choose analysis type questions for your babies. And it just starts a whole cycle of frustration on the part of faculty. Obviously, you want to keep who you have. You want them to feel respected, but they really need the tools. I'm probably preaching to the choir, but I've been there and done that in other school of nursing, and so I know how tough that can be to retain faculty by starting early with the tools, so you can decrease the frustration. They don't leave in a hard to feel school of nursing.
Absolutely.
I do try for prior, when I was faculty, I was a level coordinator, and I did a lot of the shall we say, mentoring the new faculty. And so I had tools in place to do that. That was part of it, how to write test questions, how to relate them to not only the to the NCLEX plan, but also like, you know, the correct words to use for the analysis question and the correct words to use for something that would be, you know, understanding and information. You're right, very much, definitely right. That is very, very important because it pulls it all together.
Well, it really helps. It sounds like you're a great resource, and that's so good to at least have a very strong resource to start with new faculty. And it sounds like there aren't very many of you either. So
no, there's not. But I do very much try to help new faculty as much as I possibly can. And I also like for them to be able to kind of spread their wings and do a little bit of, you know, like for instance, go ahead and build your own test, and then I will go over and we'll go over and see where we may need to make some changes with it.
Thank you.
So how many adjunct do you have currently now with you have 2 full-time, right?
We have one adjunct actually. The full-time faculty, the first semester full-time faculty, she left because her husband found a job in New Mexico. So we just hired a full-time to replace her. She has accepted, so which was yesterday. So we are looking forward to getting her on board.
Has she taught before?
She has not taught, no, but that was another thing. I mean, those who've been teaching for us, they had the same thing. It's like, we are nurses, even though they've been teaching for us, that how can we improve? Because I think that's what everybody's goal was for our student success. So our education gen ed faculty went and gave them some tips in terms of, hey, maybe utilize these strategies to see how it helps. And I think they were happy about it. So again, like I said, the committee we have created, it's consists of gen ed faculty. So if they need any help in terms of teaching or assessment purposes, we are there to help them. So, and again, I know it's still early because we are trying to make a change. So, but hopefully we're hoping that it's going to be better.
And our adjunct instructor and I just attended the conference that was last week. And excellent information. Excellent information. And she got a lot of what she considered very good ideas and information from. So did I, but she did too as a new faculty. We do have a new clinical instructor is also adjunct. I just wanted to make clear we also have that to accommodate the, as we call it, the up north problem, where that's her going to be where she will go, and students who live Paola and up that direction, then we'll have a clinical instructor.
Questions?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Roll.
Hello.
Yes, roll.
Yeah, the roll, yes.
Dorcas, what's your total number of students?
I'm sorry, what?
What is your total number of students?
Gosh, we did not have a, you're asking, you know, we did not have a cohort that came in the spring.
Right.
So we have, I'm sorry, I'm trying to think at the moment. Okay, 5.
I can answer that.
Okay.
So are you talking for each semester that how many students? So since we put our program on board, we didn't have a new cohort starting, but we did the remediation for the students who were there. So we had 5 students starting in first semester. Second semester, do you remember how many were there?
Second semester, there were 10.
10. And third,
So there were five.
Five. In the fourth semester, we had 5 students. 2 of them have taken the test. They passed. 4 of them have accepted the job. The other 3 have not. I mean, they're still trying to, yeah,
Okay, thank you.
find a test for, I mean, for.
I was trying to give you the total, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's
That's all
helpful.
right, geez.
Thank
Yeah,
you. We'll move on to our LMHT draft regulations. I know the subcommittee met, so I want to thank the group that did that. This is on page 1164. So hand it off to the folks that participated in that.
Just as a quick, what's in the packet already is what you saw the last time. This was the feedback from earlier, plus the regulations that you were looking at in terms of draft. The on-site packet has the subcommittee kind of minutes / feedback from that group. And so those of you that were involved could probably speak more to that, but we tried to summarize the kind of what everybody had input from there and use that as basis for your discussion.
How do you want to give an overview?
Sure. So of the subcommittee, there were people from community colleges, there were people from the state hospitals. We had people that were interested in doing the LMHT program, even if it was as it was. A lot of the conversation revolved around whether or not, right now, the way it's written, it's more than what an LPN does. So they were required to take more hours than an LPN, which was prohibitive, besides the fact that they were not getting college credit for it. So a lot of what we focused on was how could we get them college credit, make it a pathway into nursing if they chose to go into nursing, or they could stay with LMHT. Again, one of the other things that we had the bigger concern about is that it is truly Kansas-based. So there was no moving around. They could go work at Truman Psych or research or whatever, but the LMHT did them no good there. So a couple of the comments were reducing the hours, making it so that it was a smoother transition into LPN if they wanted, but also looking at maybe having the LPNs continue working in those state hospitals and maybe doing a micro certification for mental health in conjunction with their LPN license. I know that the comments that came from several of the hospitals themselves were they like the licensed mental health techs because it's less expensive than an LPN is. And even if we add the micro cert onto the LPN, there was no guarantee that they would be able to pay them more for that certification. So then the question came up, is the certification necessary? Given that we do mental health anyway in LPN. So a lot of that revolved around there. The hospitals love their programs. They don't love that they don't have anybody to go into it. So that begs the question, and I just spoke for myself and for Christina, who are in the Kansas City area. We could do the program, we just have nowhere to send them for clinicals because it is so far to send them to Osawatomie or Larned. So that became a question too, where, because the point is to get more mental health techs doing clinicals inside a facility they could go to work for as a licensed mental health tech. So we saw barriers. We tried to hurdle some of the barriers, but there's a lot of thought process, and I think more people that need to be involved in it than just us, because there's barriers that we don't know exist on one side, and they don't understand why there's a barrier on our side. So I think it's worth pursuing. I think there are people who would want to do this if they're getting college credit, just to get out into and have a job doing something and then decide what they want to do. But right now, when they go to, a couple of them said they come, they think they want to do the program, they stay for a month and then they leave because it's really not what they want to do. But if you were getting them onto a track where they're getting college credit, they have time during that program to figure out if that's really what they want to do.
And that's what I've seen done in other states that actually have it, that don't just do OJT, is they actually have it through a community college. And even though it's a certificate, it does have credits attached to it.
Can you talk more about the certificate program, how they do program and what you've seen?
Well, when you think of a CNA, that is done so many different ways. Sometimes it's done by a private company and it's done in an accelerated format, like a 5-week training, you cover all the skills, they go through NACES and all that. But it's also done at a community college, and it's usually a semester. And that's what I've seen for those that do it that way. If it's not OJT and it's not regulated at all, then it's at a community college. And so it's very similar, but there has to be a corresponding way to recognize it as college credits. However it's done, like if Osawatomie wanted to do it, excuse me, there would have to be a corresponding way for them to get the college credit and then a way to recognize that certificate. And then it would have to mean something. And I noticed in the minutes that you had, of course, pay is always going to be an issue because behavioral health facilities run on such a thin profit margin, whether it's state or proprietary.
I do think there are settings from my experience that would be willing to be clinical sites. I don't know that they're closer to you.
And we have Cambridge, they're up there now. I mean, it's, even you could go into the hospital side, but even the hospital side is not going to, it's not gonna reflect what they're gonna be like in a state hospital.
Right, there's the senior behavioral, which is probably a little bit easier to get your hands on than that adult or even that adolescent population that,
Right.
The true health.
I think we could explore maybe with Osawatomie, what would work for them. There again, you know, my mental health background, administratively and as a clinician, I feel strongly about finding some middle ground that would benefit the privates as well as our state hospital.
I think we also would need more community colleges willing to do it. I mean,
yes,
I'm sure we could get some even at mine. However, are they gonna move to Osawatomie or Larned? Because it's not in that region. So I worry that's gonna be the question. I can do this, but do I have to move there or drive 2 hours every day?
Can it be done hybrid?
Yeah.
You know,
Or even are there outpatient programs that, you know, and I think with the south central part of the state is with that new hospital going in, I think there's going to be a lot of interest there. I know it's not KBC anymore, but their new name, Camber, they're out in the western Kansas with the, so, and they do have their new LMHT program. They just graduated one or two.
One. And I think just to look at your comments, but I'll just say, and there we have too, one of the issues they found was the expense of the program for them to provide. They're very willing to look at partnership. But yeah, that was for one graduate, potentially two. They had two that started, I don't know what happened, but one ended up taking the exam. And that's the only graduate we've had since 2021.
what I have found, the online, like Zoom or whatever, is very, very doable. As long as you have qualified preceptors, because this is really, in my opinion, one of those roles that's the OJT part, that you have to have an assigned preceptor that's dedicated and experienced and can really do some real training and not just say, here, go do that, but this is how. And there's so many things, there's boundaries, confidentiality, power struggles that are a real daily part of their job. We can't just train them about other things. It has to be those real things that are going to help them be confident in the job.
I will say this, I went over to the traditional side of our college and I just did this little feasibility study about it. Nobody out of the 62 people I talked to knew what an LMHT was. So I think there's also the not knowing, not understanding what that is to even garner interest.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of it.
And really, in some states, an LMHT is a licensed mental health therapist. So we have to be careful, you have to be careful with
Yeah, I don't want that.
the initials there.
So Patty, what was the recommendation of the committee?
don't know that we.
Solve world hunger.
Solve world hunger, get higher wages. Yeah, I think it was that we know that it couldn't go under the regulations as they stood. We know that there's, like I said, I think there needs to be more people involved in this other than the people. I mean, we met twice for a couple of hours, and there's a lot of back and forth, and we all learned the different sides, but I think it's a much bigger thing. I think it really truly needs to have Carol say something.
This is Carol Moreland. I just, there was some discussion, and Patty said this, would this be better as a certification than a license? That way they wouldn't have to take a licensure exam. Okay, I just want to, I haven't talked to our legal counsel about this, but in the Licensed Mental Health Technician Act, everything is licensed, and we have the authority to license them. So I don't know how easy it's going to be just to change to certification, because we don't have authority to do certification for anything. That's not in the Nurse Practice Act or anything. So I'm just telling you that because it might need a statute change. Like I said, I haven't talked to legal counsel about this or anything, but just FYI.
So maybe we need to do some additional investigation, one of which is talking to our legal partners. Charles, I see you on there. I think we talked earlier in the meeting, the need for mental health technicians. I don't know, previously I've employed LMHTs, and we never thought of them as higher levels than an LPN. I think it would have been comparable to a CNA in a behavioral health setting type. And so I appreciate what you're saying with certificates, and is that a possibility from a legal perspective? And maybe that's, it would be interesting to hear from other employers, to include Camber, who just had their course. What is their vision for this role in the future? And I think with the new hospital in the southern part of the state, I think with Osawatomie and Larned having the staffing troubles, it would be very interesting to hear from their leadership teams.
And they were, Larned and Osawatomie both were on there, and they actually enlightened us a lot. One of the other things that they were talking about is, as written now, they actually have a CMA, so they can pass meds as well. And a lot of people don't want that. They don't want that as part of their duties. So, I mean, it's kind of like, if we could redo it, what would we do? And that's one of the things they would take out, is their ability to pass meds.
Well, and I think that's interesting, because that was exactly what I was thinking, Patty. When we used them, that role, the LMHT role, we were more seeking the ability to provide, therapy sessions, although it's not true therapy like what a therapist, but to engage in activities and developmental sessions. Yes, and that communication, that therapeutic setting versus the nursing staff was really the ones to pass medications and do the assessments, those kinds of things.
Because that was one of the things that could lower the amount of hours they needed and what they had to get before they came in. So I know that was one of the things that they were saying would make it maybe easier and more attractive for people to come in.
Well, and then I appreciate what the state hospital's done, if they want someone who's able to pass meds in addition to, then the CMA.
They can do the CMA.
Right, because giving medications to individuals that are psychotic and all that goes along with that, I'm just really not comfortable having an MHT. Yeah, it is so specialized, and it takes so much training in how to interact properly to avoid setting things off. You work in companion with your MHTs because your milieu has to be calm and stable, or you're going to rile up the whole unit. That would be the solution, just remove that portion.
Okay, so maybe we visit with our legal attorneys and, take this feedback. I do think maybe partnering with some other employers to see how what's the vision for the future and how do we develop a workforce for this group. We'll hear more about it in our September meeting. Does that sound okay? Okay, how about simulation hours for clinical? This is page 1187. Oh, this kind of came up at our last meeting and we asked for some articles and input.
I can, yes. A couple of things we did get from the group that was asking about the 2-to-1, which I think primarily the BSN programs were kind of in concert on that. And they did send me a couple articles which are included. And then I went to, NCSBN has done some work too. And so I included also what they said, and they're doing some, because they did all the work on the simulation. In the simulation study, a lot of what they're already saying is that there may be some, but potential for that, but it would be, it's not currently being recommended from their perspective. With the studies that have been done have been very small, more, some of them have been very particular to certain groups. So they're looking for something more universal. The other interesting thing I put in there has to do with the state of Washington. So you'll see some draft regulation and a PowerPoint presentation. And basically what they did was their legislature mandated it. They didn't let the nursing program decide, or say they weren't really in favor of it, but legislature said they had to do it. So they had to get together. They've been working with, and NCSBN has had some seat at the table with them to help them in trying to draft regulations that would allow for the 2-to-1, but it's under very specific circumstance. There's very specific descriptions of what simulation involves, what has to happen. So I guess kind of bottom line, and you can look at that. The takeaway is they had to do it, and their regulation is actually in draft right now. And she did give me permission to share this, so you can see what they've had to do, talking through what all of their definitions are, what it means to do simulation, what that has to entail, because it will tell you from site visit perspective. Anybody who's done a site visit will tell you simulation goes from A to Z in terms of what it involves from and I tell you, in Washington State, the ultimate thing is that if you want to do simulation at 2-to-1, you're going to have to get certified faculty, and some of them, I think there's even something in there about facility certification, but that's a little more complicated because we know here in Kansas, we have one certified facility, I believe it's still just one, Johnson County. We do have more certified simulation educators than we used to. I don't know what, I think at one point the count was 4, and I'm pretty sure that's increased, but it's a process and an expense that people are gonna have to look at in terms of, so these programs who want 2-to-1, and in terms of the one example I have in terms of somebody who's had to do it, they put those very specific parameters around it in defining if you're going to do this type of simulation and going to be giving clinical credit for the simulation at 2-to-1, that these other things have to be met. So that's why the information is there. The one article, it's a good one. It shows some evidence that 2-to-1 is effective, but again, looking at how the simulation was done for 42 students versus changing a policy for an entire, state. There's still a little bit of concern from the national council and the work they've done. Of course, it's always a little harder when you look at it from a national level rather than a state, but they were very good about consulting with Washington to help them put some parameters around it, would, again, speaking to the quality and safety of the students that you put out, is 2-to-1 simulation a good idea? And what are the parameters around it that are going to kind of guarantee that your clinical experience is what you need it to be with basically reduced hours? Now, we don't have a lot of programs doing 50% simulation, so you can also look at that as a factor. So that's kind of the gist of what's there. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer.
One thing that we've seen in site visits I've done is the institution may only be qualifying it as 4 hours of simulation because they are in the sim center from 8 to 12. They don't count the prep time. The student gets the simulation maybe ahead of time, the prep time the student has to do to be prepared. They don't count the debriefing time, which is all clinical hours. So if you start adding that into it, it may be instead of a 4-hour simulation, more like a 6-hour simulation. So it's all in how you quantify the simulation hours.
Yeah, and then I think the other side is the concern about not qualifying simulation when it's maybe enhanced skills learning. You might do it within a simulation type setting, but doing skills and assessing skills within a simulation setting is different than having them approach it as a clinical day with patients doing clinical judgment, having to do all the things around it, not just the skill. So I think that's some of the, what, read in the literature too, is still kind of is simulation. And we have it defined in our reg. There is something that kind of defines the whole pre-brief work, debrief as a process that defines simulation. So some would say that you could put basically a skills lab within that, but that's really not the purpose of the simulation. Right. So anyway, just information.
Yeah, and the amount of money it would take to really beef up your simulation lab so that you had enough. Because if we're talking about adding this to quite a few courses, just think if you had 24 students and you had 3 sim rooms, and you can't just have some watching and others observing, you need to have everyone as an active participant in some kind of a role.
Right, and Washington has that too. There is an active participant role that is an observer for simulation. It just can't be their entire, they have to include, there have to be pieces of that active involvement as well as the observation. And they did a good job of kind of, at least I felt like they did, but I mean, that's your call there, but that they at least were trying to define how all those things could be put in and then counted toward that. And so it might be just some sort of accountability. If you do something like that, what's the accountability for the 2-to-1, counting it as 2-to-1? So
do we have to take into accountability the level of the simulators, whether they're high fidelity, low fidelity, dead gray guys? The ones that just lay there, the gray ones that just lay there, they don't do anything, they don't have heart or anything, so dead gray guy. Do we? This is why I'm popular with my students. So does that matter too? Because if you're counting that as a higher level acute care simulation and you have a mid fidelity or a low fidelity, that's going to be hard to do. So, and whose responsibility is it to track that?
I don't know that it spoke to, I can't remember now if it spoke to anything about that. It might have to do with the standards too. I don't remember what the
UNESCO has standards.
What the UNESCO standards say about that. So it probably would have to do with that too. So if you don't have any mid to high, I don't even know what the mid all do anymore. I've seen them, but I know some of them can do a lot more than you think. But
right, the mid, you had to do a simulation that would be a respiratory failure or something like that.
So there have to be at least a certain level, I would think. And the standards would probably give some ideas on how, without requiring them to be certified. I mean, because again, you're gonna put a lot of people, that would probably put most programs out right there in
It's just the cost.
The cost
yeah.
is pretty exorbitant. So, I mean, that is one of the factors, but they are looking at, if you want to do this, and the legislature said you have to do it, is it okay, we're gonna put some standards around it.
So Washington's doing it. What other states? What are
Colorado has it.
Colorado has it?
Yeah, and I can't remember.
Just those two?
That I know of. There might be others in process. Actually, there is one state, and this might be one where I was gonna follow up, but I don't think I heard back on the person. There was one state that was doing 3-to-1, but I think it might have just been during COVID. And again, no real standard for where that came from. It's just need to help them out. But I don't know that anybody since COVID, I think some of them did do it during the emergency time. And I don't know that every state has the same, I don't know what how their regulations, some of them aren't, and I do have a little survey. I had trouble with the NCSBN survey machine. I was trying to get it out there earlier so I could get the feedback to you all, but I did put a survey out there about both LMHT, well, mental health workers basically, and then also about the 2-to-1 sim. So I hope to have more responses from that. It was a little early. I didn't have very many responses at the time the board packet was put together.
Last I knew, there were at least 2 states that if the student has graduated from a program with more than 25%, so from that DOH study that we've done, that you can't license in that state without some looking very closely at the curriculum. Someone has to do like a comparative review with their state board of nursing.
Maybe that's something that we need some more information about. Would NCSBN be able to provide us any data? I'm looking back at last quarter's meeting, and I know that this is a request coming from Kason. Could we, I appreciate the studies, and I think that there's a start out there. I don't know that I'm prepared to.
I think in CSBN, but also in ASCO, who does certify the labs.
Okay.
Would probably know where they've got and what kind of curriculum they're working around.
Okay. Could we get some information from those 2 bodies and see if what else is happening across the country? And I think to Ruth's point, we don't want to set up our students to be in a situation where they're going to have trouble getting licensure. And I'm just speculating, this may be an up and coming and we're on the forefront of it. And so it just, if we give it a little bit more time, it might become.
I did actually talk to an education person at NCSBN, and that was the deal. They do have on their website talks, they have every state and how much simulation they're doing, what states are, who's doing 25%, who's allowing 50 and all that. But she said, noted, we don't have anything about who's doing, how they're counting simulation hours. So it may be something that's now on their radar to do a little more work too. And so I will ask about that because I know she was really curious and brought it up. So yeah.
Well, that brings us to developing an agenda for our September board meeting. So I think first and foremost, maybe some additional information on the LMHT regulations and from legal, get some legal support and review on that. And then also continue this conversation about the 2-to-1 simulation. Okay. Other agenda items for.
I would like to bring up some of the new changes with the CCNE standards for accreditation.
Okay.
Most specifically, one of the new standards that will start in January 2025 is for BSN clinical. BSN clinical, I know by our regulations, they can get a higher exception. But there's some new criteria with the CCNE standards. And when I looked, I think 16 programs in Kansas are accredited by CCNE. So that's a large number of our BSN programs. So the guidelines, there's pretty strategic criteria that must be met, but allowing BSN prepared nurses to be the BSN clinical faculty member with oversight by a clinical course faculty member who has a graduate degree. But there's some different criteria than what we've had in the past from CCNE because that was not allowed at all. So I think we just need to look at that. That's probably the biggest change coming from CCNE accreditation changes. I think all the other changes do not affect our regulations, but that's a pretty big one. And I think faculty, we know it's harder and harder to get undergrad faculty. So having that as an option for undergrad clinical faculty, if we could at least start a discussion about that.
Can we talk about the DOE, about the LPN programs?
That was what I said in my report. We had to do
Oh,
some
yes,
looking
yes,
at.
yes,
yes, absolutely, yes. Any other items? Carol, you want to say something?
I just want to say one thing before you all leave, that it's not an agenda item.
Okay.
Oh, okay. For the committee members, turn in your travel forms today. We are at the end of the fiscal year and we have to turn these around. I'll tell the board members tomorrow, but we have to turn these around very fast. So please leave them today. And if there's something that you don't know, until you get back home or something, you can email Jill. Thank you. If you would leave those today.
I just want to extend a thank you for, I think we typically don't see this in printed format, but just the preparation that our staff does. So Stacy, Janelle, Carol, I know it's teamwork, but I know these weeks are incredibly stressful for you all, and we kind of show up here and blur through in a couple hours, and you all have put in hours of laborious work, so thank you very much. And with that, I think we adjourn the meeting of the Education Committee. So thank you very much.
Hey, Colton.